Favorites, AM 650 is CISL Vancouver. And now, it's Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
The Vancouver Whitecaps were losers in the Amway Canadian Championship yet again. Perhaps the best thing that could happen to the Caps is the fact that there won't be a Canadian Championship for the next year of CONCACAF Champions League, and perhaps the Whitecaps could be the top Canadian team and get in there and be crowned Canadian champions. Maybe this is the best thing that could happen for them. Anyway, we'll have current Whitecaps manager Carl Robinson on at about 10:30 to talk about that, as well as former Vancouver manager Martin Rennie. Both are going to join the show today. Martin Rennie talking about a lot of interesting things, including development here in Canada. Spain champions are now officially crowned. The German Cup was determined amidst calls for goal line technology. And we'll give you the status of Whitecaps youngster Caleb Clark and also some new news about Camilo Sanvezo coming out today. Simon working feverishly beside me, translating Spanish to English. Good evening. Welcome to Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk here on AM 650 Radio in Vancouver. My name's Tyler Green. On Twitter, at Tyler Green FC. Drove into the show today with Simon, Christina. Met producer Greg here, but drove in my new Kia Sorento from Kia Vancouver. Probably the best vehicle I've ever owned, I gotta say. Offers the best value in the marketplace. And great features as well. Leather, interior, heated seats, panoramic roof, which my daughter just loves. She calls it the window to the sky. Four-wheel drive, V6, some great fuel economy. Fun to drive, too. Got all my soccer and baseball equipment in there. At times, I've had all my snowboard gear in there. And it's a safe ride as well, which is important to me. I mentioned my 4-year-old daughter. She's on board with me, so want to make sure that she's safe. Plus, Kia Vancouver, I didn't get this deal, but you can get this deal. An additional $500 off if you mention my name. So go ahead, use me. Go to Kia Vancouver and use my name. Get some money back. Then, of course, there are some perks, like free lifetime car washes, oil change. I've already taken advantage of the car washes, but this week I'm going to take advantage of both the car wash, which my car desperately needs, and an oil change. And my favorite, if you're heading out of town, free lifetime airport shuttle service and parking at Kia Vancouver. And did you know who just picked up a new Kia Optima, the Turbo Edition from Kia Vancouver earlier this week? None other than Whitecaps designated player Pedro Morales. He picked up his new ride on Tuesday. His wife opting for the Kia Soul, both from Kia Vancouver. And you can be like Pedro. You can be a designated player at Kia Vancouver and get your own Kia Vancouver Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon or online at KiaVancouver.com. The show available via the webcast or live streaming at www.am650radio.com. Thanks for listening to us live or on the podcast. The first half kickoff is brought to you by Kevin O'Toole and findaproperty.ca. Kevin has a great new place and kits listed on findaproperty.ca. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, over 900 square feet, close to Kids Beach. There's cafes, bistros, restaurants, so much more. Details at findaproperty.ca to book a showing. Kevin O'Toole, licensed realtor with Prudential Sussex Realty, online at findaproperty.ca. All right, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And for the Vancouver Whitecaps, it was that kind of week because it pretty much did stay the same. Their inability to win the Voyageurs Cup, and quite frankly, it's getting a little tiresome. Moral victories are great, and the Caps have certainly had a bunch of those. but it's actually time to go and win bleepin' something. Win a bleepin' trophy already. And I don't mean the Cascadia Cup. Yeah, it's great. They won it last year, but really in reality, it doesn't mean a heck of a lot. Actually get a trophy that means something, whether it's the Voyageurs Cup, whether it's the Supporters Shield, whether it's the MLS trophy at the end of the year, the MLS Cup. Just win something good. We're begging of you. Anyway, we'll discuss that in the program. Simon and I, we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program. And tonight's Barber Poll brought to you by anotherfinecut.com. Under which circumstances would you welcome Camilo back to Whitecaps FC? Had a bunch of response already, but you can let us know. Tweet your thoughts with the hashtag Barber Poll on Twitter at SoccerTalk650 or TylerGreenFC. You can also email us at SoccerTalk650@gmail.com or call us 604-280-0650. You can also weigh in on the Barber Poll on Facebook.com/SoccerTalkVan. And as I mentioned just a minute or two ago, some new news with that. His agent having a communique that Simon, as I said, is feverishly translating from Spanish to English. Hopefully by the next segment, Simon will have that all worked out. But it is an interesting question. So, ultimately, let us know. Ultimately, what circumstances would you even welcome Camilo back to Whitecaps FC? Simon and I will weigh in on that one in a little bit, but I have to tell you, I'm not entirely sure I'd want Camilo Sanvezo back. And I'll tell you more as to why. And I'll also give you my thoughts as to why it is a little bit different here in North America as opposed to Europe. Because in Europe, I don't know if Camilo could even show his face here in Vancouver ever again. The Barber Poll is brought to you by anotherfinecut.com. Get the authentic straight razor experience that reminds you you're alive. 3 locations, Gastown, Yaletown, and the Financial District. Online at anotherfinecut.com. Both Simon and I getting all our haircut and shaving needs met at anotherfinecut.com. Visit them at anotherfinecut.com for a location nearest you. Coming up in the first half of the program, Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk contributor Simon Fudge and I will dive into the starting 11. As well, your comments always welcome. Whether or not you disagree or agree with Simon and I, let us know. Plus, chat about the Whitecaps with manager Carl Robinson. Get his philosophy on the Whitecaps, what he's trying to accomplish here, and some of the little things that he is doing. For example, the Vancouver Whitecaps on Fridays are now training for home games at 4 p.m. A coincidence that they play Saturday games at 4 p.m.? We'll get Carl's thoughts on the reason he does that. Plus, we'll hear from Toronto FC's Jermaine Defoe about being snubbed by the England squad and Roy Hodgson. In the second half of the program, expert physios David Sandals will be by to talk about a functional assessment. What is it exactly, and why might it be a good idea for you, me, the average Joe, to get that done? I actually got it done on Friday, and I'll tell you why I got it done and what benefits it's going to have for me. Plus, with so many games, there was the Europa League final, the Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, DFB Pokal game today, the Vancouver Whitecaps, Toronto FC game. All those games going into extra time, 120 minutes, some of them into penalties. But a lot of cramping issues with those games. So what exactly causes cramping? That's what we'll talk with David Sandals about coming up at 11 o'clock in the second half of Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk, as well as we mentioned former Vancouver Whitecaps manager Martin Rennie to discuss the latest with him, his view on soccer development here in this country, and also weigh in yourself. If you like to ask a question, tweet us SoccerTalk650 with the hashtag AskMartin, and your questions will be asked to former Vancouver Whitecaps head coach Martin Rennie coming up at 11:15 p.m. this evening. And as always, we'll have the manager's rant. We'll get into some hot fudge with Simon Fudge. And as always, we'll finish with the final cut, brought to you by anotherfinecut.com. Once again, you're listening to Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650 Radio in Vancouver. Online, am650radio.com. My name's Tyler Green. Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk and Goal.com contributor Simon Fudge and I will debate the starting 11 next.
Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTalk650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650. The 2014 season of EA Sports BC Soccer Premier League. Welcome to the front lines of the game. Welcome to the big league. The one that provides an elevated level of competition for high-performance players within BC and contributes to player development for the Canadian national team and professional opportunities here and abroad. This is where you're going to see the top youth players in action. Catch some of the most intense soccer in the province. EA Sports BC Soccer Premier League. For information and upcoming games, check out bcsoccer.net.
Whether playing soccer on this continent or football on every other, Umbro is the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available for your team or club at umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, is celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football.
It was true Italy. Every weekend, the Dussault family gathered to share laughter and plates of homemade pasta. So when the Dussault brothers came to Canada, rather than become homesick for the good times, they opened Dussauts on Granville Island. A generation later, the Dussauts are still creating authentic, home-style Italian pasta and sauce from natural ingredients. Great carbs and quick, healthy meals. Official pasta of the Vancouver Canucks and Vancouver Whitecaps FC. Look for Dussauts fresh pasta and sauce at your local grocery store. Visit Dussauts, DUSOS.com.
Think great tasting vegetable dishes are made here in the kitchen? They actually start here in the field with top quality BC fresh produce like red and yellow potatoes. Amazing flavors, because like all BC fresh produce, they're harvested fresh and travel 100 kilometers or less to arrive at your plate. So choose the produce with the BC Fresh logo. And for easy how to use them recipes, visit bcfreshvegetables.com.
We're back. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on AM 650. Now here's your host, Tyler Green.
We'll talk Whitecaps with head coach Carl Robinson, his philosophy playing the youngsters, and how he handles the pressure of now being the man in charge. That interview at 10:30. I managed to chat with Carl Robinson after the Wednesday game, and we'll play that for you in about 15 minutes or so. Only at Kia Vancouver, free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and get this, free lifetime airport shuttle and parking. Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon. The starting 11 in just a minute, but Simon feverishly translating some comments from Camilo's agent that were published. Basically, what was it, Simon, that he released a big referendum, almost a big memorandum of points.
Yeah, it was from his agent and Football Brazil that represent him, and his agent Lucas Teixeira, basically stating that that he's very happy at Querétaro. That currently he's on vacation. The Mexican Clausura season has come to an end. And that the comments of media here in Vancouver were inaccurate. That he wanted to that he was interested in coming back to Vancouver, and basically it was a clarification that he's very happy at Querétaro. He still has a lot of affinity for the Whitecaps and its supporters and the club, but that he's looking very much forward to starting the new season, which is the Apertura season. With Querétaro when they get going, I think, later in the year.
So we'll get that on our Facebook page very shortly here, so people can take a look at it. But right now, let's get into that starting 11 with me, Tyler Green FC on Twitter, and Simon Fudge 74 on Twitter. And we'll start with number 1. And we'll go over to England for this one, Simon. After winning the FA Cup, does Arsene Wenger keep the reins at Arsenal?
Yes, I believe he should. If you look at this team, it's another patented Arsenal side in Arsene Wenger's mold, with many young emerging players, with the likes of Luke Wilkshire and Aaron Ramsey, who was particularly good today in the Cup final against Hull City. He deserves, I think Wenger deserves a chance to be able to take what he has, strengthen the side, and with this team, make a stronger push to try and win the EPL title next season.
You know what? I'm thinking for Arsene Wenger. How can you afford not to keep him? He's kept Arsenal near the top of the Premier League for how many years? In the Champions League for how many years? Which all has made him money, which all has made the club money. It's helped build Emirates Stadium. It's helped fill Emirates Stadium. Sure, it's been some trouble and some time since they've been able to win the trophy, but of course they were able to sort of change that today. But, you know, look at what happened at, say, Manchester United, for example, and I think you have to stick with him. He's going to continue to keep you competitive, and who knows, maybe that's going to take you to that next level and be able to give you a victory as well.
Number 2, Bayern Munich won the DFB Pokal, or German Cup, today, but a disallowed Borussia Dortmund goal has once again urged calls for the use of goal line technology. How soon does this need to be implemented on a regular occurrence, if at all?
Well, it's funny because the Board of Governors basically decided against using it in Germany, but with so many of these games on television right now, so many different angles on TV, every match almost on TV, pretty much every match on TV, I think it has to be involved in some way, because you find these things, you know, you see the goals being scored, you see them going over the line, and, you know, Dortmund's goal today, on one hand, yeah, it would have been a good goal in terms of the ball crossing the line, but you could also review the fact that he was already offside beforehand, so it wouldn't have counted anyway, but that would have changed the whole complexion of the game, and the team that won may not have won. Or maybe the team that won would have still won. Who knows? But it would have changed the game in some way or form, and I think you have to do that. Now, the tough part is the fact that how can every place, yeah, it's great, it's going to be in places with rich countries and rich footballing history, etc., but in poorer countries that don't have as many TV angles, don't have as many finances to do it, is going to be tough. But I think in major tournaments and major important, with the stakes so high and major money on the line, I think you have to have it involved somehow.
Yeah, I would agree. And for me, big leagues and big competitions really need to have it in place. There's been a real positive effect on the English Premier League with it being implemented this past season, and I think it would be welcome throughout the footballing world. Goal line technology, it does not alter the way soccer is played. The biggest paranoia with introducing technology to the game by administrators was that it would have some impact on the actual playing of the game itself, but in this case it doesn't, and it needs to be implemented further for myself.
And number 3 on the starting 11, with his failure in Champions League but a domestic double, is Pep Guardiola still considered the best manager around?
He's one of the top managers amongst a small selected group. Just because Bayern Munich ran into a very good Real Madrid side in the UEFA Champions League semifinals does not equate to him being lesser of a coach or a manager. Remember that the Barcelona side that he managed was a very, very special set of players at the peak of their powers. So he is very much up there, but there are a handful of others, the likes of Mourinho and Wenger, and even for me, Carlo Ancelotti, who I think are very much amongst the elite group. So I wouldn't say that he is or isn't the best, but he's one of the best.
Yeah, I would agree. He's definitely got competition, but still rated very high for what he's done in the past, and what he's done this year is still very impressive. Semifinals of Champions League, a lot of managers can't even say they got out of the group stage. Look at Manchester City. Yeah, okay, all the superstar millionaires they have, but did they really win anything other than the Premiership title, right? They didn't get that very far in Champions League. They couldn't drive it to the end. So, yeah, I think he's still very high, and his record in the domestic league still speaks for itself. And if Bayern Munich were to let him go, he'd be one of those managers that was, if he wanted to, he would be out of a job for literally 24 hours before he found something else.
Number four. Sorry. Number four. Diego Simeone and Atletico Madrid have won the Spanish title and could win the Champions League title also in 2014. Is Simeone the most coveted manager right now, or will he stay at Atletico?
I think he'll stay. I think he'll be mentioned around as a manager in demand, and that people are going to want him, and he's going to be talked about in vacant management jobs. Barcelona is now looking for a manager, but I think he's going to be like Klopp at Dortmund, and I think he's going to stay loyal. I think he's going to stay there and at least go one more season and see what he can do. I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that just jumps ship and takes off right away.
It's no surprise that he probably is highly sought after, but I agree. I see him at Atletico for at least another season. The Argentine has had we're going to remember he's had a long relationship with Atletico, both as a player and a coach. So jumping ship there, I don't see him doing just like that. For me, if he does so, it would have to be a club of real stature for him to consider making a move as early as this summer.
16th, this is number 5 on the starting 11. 16th English Premier League side, Hull City, lose to Arsenal in the FA Cup final, but have qualified to play in Europa League next season. Can they compete, or should they just save that TV money?
I think they need to be financially prudent, despite the fact that they will get a chance to be in the Europa League. I think they have to go through the third qualifying round. They would have actually gotten the group stage if they'd won today in the FA Cup final. There are many good and experienced clubs that will be in this competition next season. So what I think Steve Bruce's side need to do is look at Europe as a bit of an adventure where they try and put their best foot forward with what they have. Maybe add a little bit here and there, but not go crazy.
Yeah, save it. I think it's going to be a quick exit regardless for them, even if they do, like you said, they got to go in the qualifying portion first. But even if they get into the next group stage, I think they need to save that money because they're not going to get that far. They're probably not going to get high enough in the league to really qualify for the following year of Europa League. So I think they need to spend that money shrewdly, save a lot of it, make some shrewd acquisitions, guys that aren't going to cost you too much, but could potentially help you both in league and in Europe. I think that's better, spending on players like that for this season as opposed to going out and spending some big cash and then all of a sudden failing to make Europa League the next year and being down at the bottom of the table again and now having to get that money out of your own pocket.
Number 6, Jermaine Defoe was left off the England World Cup roster. Defoe had this to say following the announcement.
Yeah, obviously I was shocked. And like you can imagine, especially when you've been involved in every squad and then for some reason you're not included, but always remain positive and just continue doing what I'm doing. I've come over here and done exactly what I used to do at home, and that's played well and scored goals, so yeah, just remain positive.
Do you think that coming to MLS affected the decision at all?
No, because I've been here 2 months, so does it really change much? I don't think so. I mentioned before the squad was announced that the manager, he knows most of the players, to be honest. Even before he was manager, he knows the players, and so I think the fact of me being here 2 months, I think that shouldn't play a factor at all.
Did you get any explanation from Roy in terms of why he didn't make the choice?
No, he just said he wants to go with the young kids, and that's it.
Does it make you question your future, like retiring from the national team?
I'm not going to retire just because someone doesn't put me in the squad. I'll never do that. I ain't going to turn my back on my country because I still feel like I've got a lot to offer. The games I've played and just being involved in England squad over years, it's been great. That's why I've never really talk about stuff. Even before I just said, yeah, we'll see what happens, and obviously I want to go to the World Cup, but I think my record speaks for itself, and I just try and continue to work hard and just enjoy my football.
So, should Defoe have been included in the England World Cup squad, Tyler?
No, and I'm not surprised that he wasn't, and I don't think he should be included. Roy Hodgson is going with younger guys, and I think better informed players. Look at the guys like Danny Welbeck at Manchester United, Liverpool's Daniel Sturridge. Those are the future. They're better players right now. Very similar players to Jermaine Defoe, but he wants to go with that younger kind of player, and I think that's who he needs to go with, and I'd stick with those players. And then I look at a guy like Ricky Lambert, who provides something a little different to that mix. So for me, those are the type of guys that I want on the squad, and Jermaine Defoe for me is that third tier of a Sturridge and a Welbeck. And then I'd even take Andy Carroll as something completely different, who's also on the sort of that expansion roster of guys that they'd bring in if there's an injury, as opposed to Defoe, just because he's a different person to the regular players that we see all the time. So for me, not surprised, and I think it's a lot of people in Toronto making a big deal that he was off the squad. I don't know if he was ever really that involved or that considered to be in the squad.
I'm going to disagree. I think looking at England's striking options that you've talked about, I think Defoe could have proved very invaluable off the bench in World Cup games when the three lines might need a goal. I do agree with Roy Hodgson picking a younger squad for Brazil, but that goal poaching quality that he brings is really hard to overlook, and I just think there's something about him not being in this squad that Hodgson might end up regretting in the end, because if they don't find a way of scoring goals at the World Cup, could that be one of the things that people will point to?
We'll agree to disagree. Well, the rest of a lot of those World Cup bound teams unveiled their 30-man roster. This is number 7 on the starting 11. Over the last 3 weeks, those have been named. Any surprise omissions for you, Simon?
I think France and Didier Deschamps leaving Samir Nasri and Eric Abidal out of Les Bleus was a bit of a surprise. I'd had heard the fact that there might have been a concern with those players, particularly Nasri, fitting into Deschamps' system of play, but that's a lot of a talent and experience to leave out. And I wonder, much like thinking of Defoe in England, if Deschamps, particularly with Nasri, might regret leaving him out.
Yeah, I was going to say Nasri as well. Surprise for me. Overall, I wouldn't say I was stunned by, any one player's absence. I think there was, a couple here or there that you think they could be in that roster, obviously, but like you said, nobody really fit into certain systems. So the bigger exciting news is just the fact that there's now issues with Nasri's girlfriend and some legal action. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. Never a good thing when you hear that, actually. Number 8, was FC Edmonton robbed in the Amway Canadian Championship semifinals versus Montreal?
No. Simply put, no. Montreal was the dominating force in that game. Edmonton got their own questionable PK earlier in the game, and yeah, it was a bad PK at the end that gave Montreal a 4-2 lead, but Edmonton was never looking like they were going to come back in that game. They were losing, and they really weren't putting on a big force to try to push and get that tying goal. So no, I don't think they were robbed at all.
I think that they were. The great fight back deserved a better result in the end, and I'm sorry to get sidetracked, but referee Drew Fisher, much like when I got annoyed with him in the Whitecap San Jose game with the Jay DeMerit penalty call on Alan Gordon, his inexperience showed through again. He made a very poor decision on the decisive penalty, the handball against Edmonton's Malin Roberts, as Roberts was trying to pull his arm away to avoid what looked like an obvious handball. Then if Drew Fisher is interested in being a referee in top competitions in the future, he must avoid doing quote-unquote letter of the law refereeing, because that's exactly what we saw from him on Wednesday, and it cost Edmonton dearly.
Number 9 on the starting 11, Vancouver Whitecaps FC lost to Toronto FC in that Voyageurs Cup semifinal, but head coach Carl Robinson claimed a moral victory. Is that acceptable?
Losing, even when it is on penalties, should never be considered acceptable, especially when you're playing in a competition that you've never won, and in many ways you're desperate to win. I can see how Robinson would have claimed a moral victory based on how the team played. I mean, you got to remember they did win the game in 90 minutes. But he even expressed disappointment they didn't finish off TFC when they were there for the taking. And make no mistake, they were there for the taking.
I think we've seen enough moral victories from this Vancouver Whitecaps team. We saw some last year against Montreal, again this year. Enough's enough. You can only have so many moral victories until you start needing to win something. And for Vancouver, it's needing to start winning some silverware. Moral victory is over. Start winning something. Fans want something. Fans want some silverware. Enough moral victories. Get it done.
Absolutely. Number 10. As part of our AnotherFine.com barber poll tonight, under what circumstances would you welcome Camilo back to Whitecaps FC?
I wouldn't. Call me stubborn or whatever you want, but I wouldn't take Camilo back. This is a team that is on the up and up. All these young guys are coming through. Kudamane is scoring a goal. Eric Hurtado is showing signs of brilliance. Darren Maddox, before he got hurt, was showing well. Omar Salgado is back and finding his groove with this team. Pedro Morales is showing what he can do. We've seen some brilliance from Sebastian Fernandez. We don't need a guy like Camilo Sanvezo coming back into this team and basically wanting to step in. Yeah, they need a consistent goal scorer. But remember, Camilo scored 13 goals one year. That considerably dropped down. And you just need that headache of all of a sudden, well, I'm going to go again. Or I'm going to stay. You're always going to kind of be left wondering. And it makes me wonder. Because in Europe, the people that say, yeah, I'll take him, sure. You look over in Europe. If somebody has played for Manchester United, somebody at Liverpool is never going to want that guy on his team. Ever. How long was it before Arsenal and Manchester United actually had a player play on the same team? I think it was over 20 years before until it happened recently. Mm-hmm. And there were lots of questions about that. It just doesn't happen, and fans don't want those players back that leave the club on bad terms, and nor would I. No, I don't want Camilo back on this team. I don't care how many goals he scored.
If he is going to return, he would have to put out a statement of apology in writing or on video to Whitecaps supporters, and be prepared to explain to himself, to especially media and everyone alike, why he made the decision to force the remove to Querétaro. It wouldn't win everybody over, but it might help to build some bridges. Soccer fans, sounds like, are easy to forgive and forget, especially if the Camilo that we saw last season was able to come back here in Vancouver. But as you say, to me, you wonder what would be the point of bringing him back in many respects.
And as you mentioned earlier, Camilo saying, or his agent saying, he's officially with Querétaro. He is not coming back to Vancouver. He is not desperate for a return. Media reports were unfortunate, and that it does not necessarily fit with reality, the information that's coming out of Vancouver. He is with Querétaro, and he is staying with Querétaro. He does have great affection for Vancouver Whitecaps fans and the team, but at this moment, it's unfounded, any possibility of a return to Vancouver. So there you have it, the latest from Camilo Sanvezo. Starting 11 now, the final question, number 11. Reports claim that Major League Soccer could be headed to Vegas.
Vegas! Vegas, baby! Vegas!
Is this going to work?
No, don't think so. I keep thinking back to the failed experiment that was the Las Vegas Posse in the CFL 20 years ago. It was actually 1994. They just lasted the one season. Pro sports franchises in Vegas have struggled there time and again, and I'm not sure if there's even enough of us quote-unquote soccer understanding amongst the population that lived down there in that city. So to me, it would be a very foolish move by MLS to go there.
This is going to work, and I'll tell you why. Everyone is going to be going to games in Las Vegas for Major League Soccer, except all of the fans. There's going to be a very small section of home supporters, the rest of the stadium, visiting supporters. Everybody is going to want to go to Vegas for the weekend to see their team play, spend a weekend in Vegas gambling, goofing around, drinking, gambling, and going to a soccer game to see their team play in Vegas. They will have great support, but it'll be all the visiting teams that are going to see them. It'll be great. Soccer is built for traveling supporters, and every Major League Soccer team is going to want to go to Vegas because every fan is going to want to go. I guarantee you, all the guys from the Rain City Brigade, the Curva Collective, the Southsiders, and every other fan and media are going to want to go to Vegas for a Vegas MLS game against the Whitecaps.
Okay,
guaranteed.
Maybe then I'm convinced. It's so funny you would bring it up that way, because that reminds me of a Scottish League game I went to in 1996 when Partick Thistle were at home to Celtic, and only one half of one of the stands could fill all the Partick Thistle fans, and the rest of it was Celtic. So it was just, I could see that maybe. Okay.
Guaranteed. Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk May Fantasy League contest is presented by Umbro Canada. The task this month is to score the highest amount of points during the month of May. Visit facebook.com/SoccerTalkVan for all the details on May's competition. The Fantasy League presented by Umbro Canada, thousands of dollars in prizes, including tickets to the Canada versus Japan's women's match in October. There's Canada jerseys, Umbro, the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available to your team or club at umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football. Umbro, proud supporter of the Fantasy League. You're listening to Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650 Radio. Vancouver Whitecaps, winners in the game on Wednesday, sort of knocked out of the semifinals of the Amway Canadian Championships. We'll hear from head coach Carl Robinson next.
This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650. Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Centuries old, steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at anotherfinecut.com. Hot towels, straight edge blade into your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive, you're a man, in the company of history's finest men. Start at anotherfinecut.com. Pick your barbershop in Yaletown, Gastown, or the Financial District, and relax into the big red leather chair for the shave of your life.
The 2014 season of EA Sports BC Soccer Premier League. Welcome to the front lines of the game. Welcome to the big league. The one that provides an elevated level of competition for high-performance players within BC and contributes to player development for the Canadian national team and professional opportunities here and abroad. This is where you're going to see the top youth players in action. Catch some of the most intense soccer in the province. EA Sports BC Soccer Premier League. For information and upcoming games, check out bcsoccer.net.
What's it like to score in the beautiful game? Come to Kia Vancouver and find out. This month during the Score the Best Price sale event, you can score 0% financing for 84 months and a $4,000 discount on select 2014 Kia Optimus. Plus, only at Kia Vancouver, score free lifetime car washes, free lifetime oil changes, free lifetime airport shuttle and parking, and always service with a smile. Kia Vancouver, the power to surprise at KiaVancouver.com and on Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon.
Pain or injury slowing you down? Take it to the choice of many top athletes, Expert Physio. Serving the Lower Mainland for over 35 years, the team at Expert Physio is dedicated to individualized care with specialized services such as orthotics, acupuncture, IMS, plus dizziness, pelvic floor, and certified hand therapies. Over 300 physicians referred to Expert Physio last year, and 100% of patients surveyed said they choose Expert Physio again. You're in good hands with Expert Physio. Burnaby Heights or at 8 Rinks, expertphysio.ca.
Hi, I'm Jack McIver. When a customer comes to our store after shopping around and see what they haven't seen in other appliance stores, washers and dryers, plain and simple. 3 years full guarantee, 5 years guarantee on the motor, 10 years on the transmission, big capacity, much better performance, our professional delivery and installation, all for less than the other guys. And after 50 years in business, McIver's is the best at what we do. McIver's, we're at 610 Southeast Marine Drive. Call 879-5222 or visit us on the net at mcivers.biz.
Airport, please, driver.
Right, we will be taking Main Street.
That's the other way.
Mm-hmm. And I'll drop you off at 10th Avenue.
But I don't want to be going...
That's where you get a connecting cab to your destination.
Connecting cab?
After a 3-hour layover.
What?
Have a nice day.
What if cabs work like some travel rewards cards? Avianers have the freedom to avoid unnecessary flight connections. Apply for the RBC Visa Infinite Avion card today and get 15,000 welcome points. Visit rbc.com/Avion for details. Some conditions apply.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on AM 650. Now here's your host, Tyler Green.
Vancouver Whitecaps FC are off this week. It's a bit of a bye week for the Whitecaps after being knocked out of the Voyageurs Cup competition on Wednesday, but the rest of Major League Soccer is in action, and Simon's got the latest scores from that.
Yes, there were 8 games today in Major League Soccer. Toronto FC defeated the New York Red Bulls by 2-0. Jermaine Defoe and Luke Muller with the goals. It was DC United 1, Montreal Impact 1. New England Revolution are on a goal fest. Another 5 goals, and that's 10 in 2 games. 5-3 win at Philadelphia Union. Fagundes, Nguyen, and Tierney, goal and an assist each. They have won 4 straight games. It was FC Dallas 1, Chivas USA 1. Houston Dynamo through Giles Barnes defeated LA Galaxy 1-0. Real Salt Lake won their first Rocky Mountain Cup clash for Colorado 2-1. Obafemi Martin scored the only goal in a Seattle win, 1-0 win over San Jose Earthquakes. And Portland Timbers came with 10 men for the majority of the game, came from 2-1 and 3-2 down to get a very dramatic 3-3 draw at home to the Columbus Crew. There's only one game tomorrow in MLS, and it's the Chicago Fire hosting Sporting Kansas City.
Thanks, Simon. Tonight's another fine Cut.com poll question. The Barber poll is, under what circumstances would you welcome Camilo back to the Whitecaps? You can drop us a line at Tyler Green FC, at Soccer Talk 650. Andrew Harley saying, no pretending to love Vancouver, keeping his mouth shut and filling the net, and of course, firing his agent as an apology. Swampo on Twitter saying, hell to freeze over before he'd welcome him back. And Chris Freeman, meh, a pint of Guinness ought to cover it. Life's too short to be bitter. You can weigh in again at Tyler Green FC or Soccer Talk 650. You can also check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/SoccerTalkVan, or tylergreen.org to see the link to the story for Camilo potentially returning to Vancouver, and his agent saying, yeah, not going to happen. You're listening to Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk here on AM 650 Radio. Again, my name's Tyler Green. Alongside me, Simon Fudge. Time now for our Kia Vancouver showroom interview, brought to you by Kia Vancouver, 396 Southwest Marine Drive. Only at Kia Vancouver. Get an extra $500 discount if you tell them Tyler from Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk sent you. Just mention my name and save 500 big ones. Tonight, we speak with Vancouver Whitecaps head coach Carl Robinson in our Kia Vancouver showroom interview. And I talked to him after Wednesday's game, and I asked Carl about his thoughts on the match against Toronto FC.
Well, I'm not disappointed. I'm really not, because I thought the boys were magnificent. They literally were in the 120 minutes that we played, and you know, when you get to a penalty shootout, it is heads or tails, toss of a coin, and unfortunately today we didn't get our reward. But you know, we won the game, and we come out as winners today, because I thought from the first minute to the last minute we were absolutely magnificent.
Some people, I said it was pretty ballsy, playing a lot of young guys. Just what was the mindset going in and trying to get those players action and putting them in this kind of situation?
Was it you who said it was ballsy, was it? Okay. Now listen, I've got every faith in my players, you know, and if we would have lost the game, I would have took the criticism, because that's the reality of this game that we're in. You know, you win and everyone's happy, and you lose and you get criticised. So I got asked about why I wasn't playing my strongest team, and I said, well, what is my strongest team? My strongest team is competition for places. If we're going to be successful at this club this year, next year, and the year after, we need to have a strong nucleus and a strong squad of players. And today, some players got their opportunities to play in front of a fantastic crowd, you know, as they always are, and got the opportunity, and they took the chance. It was you know, a lot of very strong performances today to give me more hard decisions, because we're not going to keep everyone fit throughout the year, but today some players showed me that they're more than able to step up.
I was going to say, you know, have the faith in Eric last MLS game to put him up front, start him, rewards you with a goal, and we've seen that a bunch of times with these players. Is that something that you say to them? Say, hey, get out there, I have confidence in you.
I must be doing something right. I really must. Nah, listen, it's about pushing them. You know, I'll push them to the limit where I think I can get the best out of them, and I'll show a bit of faith and confidence in them. And it's talking to them. You know, when they have a tough time, it's explaining why and what they can do better. And when they do well, it's about bringing them back down to earth. And you know, me and my coaches, Martin and Gordon, are brilliant at that. And it's important we're creating an environment, and we've certainly done that in the first 3 months, and we will continue to do that this year and hopefully for many years to come.
Speaking with Carl Robinson, head coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps, philosophy change with the team. What is your philosophy going into this season, and has that sort of changed through 10 games here?
No, I want to play an exciting, attacking style of football. You know, I want to play a possession-orientated game, you know, but there's 3 or 4 certain aspects of the game that you can't do at once. You know, I think we've got great counter-attacking players, and I think we've shown that over the last couple of games that we are lethal on the break. We really are, with the pace and the passing range we've got in our team. So, yes, I think we can work a little bit more on our possession, but that comes from building from the back, and we work on that continuously. That's not going to happen overnight, but it's important we keep progressing in each aspect of the game. And you know, I said it might take a year, it might take 18 months for me to actually put my, absolute stamp on this team. But as long as we slowly move in the right direction, week in, week out, then I'm going the right way.
Obviously 10 games in here now as a head coach. How has that role been for you so far?
It's been brilliant. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I really have. And, you know, you get your ups and downs when you win and when you lose. And, you know, I remain level-headed. I don't get carried away and I don't get too beat up. And, you know, I said when the day I walk into this job, you know, and the day I walk out of this job will be the club will have progressed. It's not about me or anyone else. It's about the club moving forward. And, you know, when that day comes, as long as the club has progressed, I've done my job. And if I give these young players opportunities and they take them, which they are at the moment, then everyone's a winner.
Obviously now as head coach, now you get the criticism, so how do you handle that?
Okay, I'm thick-skinned. I don't mind. I'd prefer people to criticise me than criticise my players, and that's why I think, you know, we're in a good place at the moment, because they know I'm willing to go to war for them, and I'll back them to the hilt, and it's important I do that. I said, so if anyone wants to criticise any of my players, they can come to me.
How close do you think you are to building this team in your image?
Yeah, no, listen, we've still got a long way to go. Obviously, I've managed to bring in 5 players, you know, and I think all the 5 players are on a fantastic effect on the squad, not just, you know, in matches, but in training and in the environments. And the environment's a very, very good place at the moment. It's important we continue to develop that. Obviously, you know, you can't just change makeover of a club within 1 year, because changing 20 players is pretty difficult, so it's got to be done at the right times, and I will do that at the right times. But I said, as long as I've got to be competitive, and my team's competitive at the moment.
We're speaking with Carl Robinson, head coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps, here on Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. Carl, some of the things that you've changed, training now on, say, Thursday or Fridays at 4 o'clock, the same time as a game, is that just to... Why the decision to do that? What does that do?
It's trying to get their body clocks used of not being a surprise. If we train at 10 o'clock from Monday to Friday, and then we train play a game on Saturday at 4 o'clock, then the body's not used to, you know, going through those phases. So I try and do it on a Thursday and a Friday, and they get used to it. So come Saturday, we're ready to go, because we're a team that needs to go from the first whistle. And I think we've played good halves of football, but we haven't completed a good 90 minutes, really. I think we did in Columbus, and I think we did again today. So that's you know, it's important we continue that development. But that's the reason why is to get their bodies used to it.
Is that something you learned as a player, that coaches did that with you, and maybe some other things?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, everything that I learned as a player, I'm trying to put across to my team here and do it. You know, like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a period of time to do it, but as long as I continue to improve these guys in there, and I continue to learn, because I'm a young head coach, I've got a long way to go. I know that, and it's important for my development that I learn from my mistakes, because I'll certainly make a lot of mistakes, but, you know, I'll be open with them, I'll be honest with them. More importantly, I'll be behind those guys in there.
Big match against the Seattle Sounders now coming up next weekend. What do you have to do to make sure that you're ready and focused and not sort of dwell on a defeat of the competition?
So my guys won't be dwelling on that after a performance like that. They really won't. They'll go away, they'll recoup for 3-4 days now, and we'll come back to work on Monday, because it's a great game. I think you see the supporters here today were fantastic again, as they always are, and they were excited by the performance, and I think if we continue to do that this year, then we'll have more success than failure.
And a sellout now for the next game as well. That's got to be exciting.
It's great. Listen, that's what you want in these big games, and it's a big game. And I want to try and make this club have big games every single game that we play at home. And if I can do that, then I must be doing something right.
There's Carl Robinson, head coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps, in conversation with me from earlier this week. Only at Kia Vancouver, free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and get this, free lifetime airport shuttle and parking. Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon. Visit KiaVancouver.com or online or in-store, 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon. Under which circumstances would you welcome Camilo back into the Whitecaps fold? On Twitter, at Tyler Green FC, at SoccerTalk650, at SimonFudge74. Anthemal, I don't want Camilo back. Sub Hedgehog, I don't begrudge Camilo chasing a bigger paycheck if the Caps wouldn't pay, but he burned that bridge on the way. Minamichu FC, I agree with Tyler 100%. Did the equivalent of flushing the club's jersey down the toilet after soiling it. And Caps Scarf tweeting us, wants to know how to become a Whitecaps DP. Well, you can be a DP at Kia Vancouver a lot easier than you can be with the Whitecaps. So head to KiaVancouver.com. We'll talk injuries with David Sandals of ExpertPhysio.ca, and former Whitecaps head coach Martin Rennie joins us in the second half of Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. But up next, we'll go around the globe with Uniglobe One Travel. Caleb Clark's loan deal in Germany is set to expire. What's next for the young Canadian currently on call with the Canadian men's national team starting on Monday? Well, we'll tell you the latest news next.
Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTalk650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650.
BC-born superstar Rory McDonald looks to earn a coveted UFC title shot when he meets Tyron Woodley in a welterweight showdown. Live Saturday, June 14th from Rogers Arena. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.ca.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of AnotherFineCut.com. Here's how it works. Go to AnotherFineCut.com. Book your appointment at one of their 3 unique to their area barbershops in Gastown, Yaletown, or the Financial District. You can just walk in, too, and get your haircut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. You deserve this. A great wedding party idea, too. AnotherFineCut.com.
What's it like to score in the beautiful game? Come to Kia Vancouver and find out. This month, during the Score the Best Price sale event, you can score 0% financing for 84 months and a $4,000 discount on select 2014 Kia Optimus. Plus, only at Kia Vancouver, score free lifetime car washes, free lifetime oil changes, free lifetime airport shuttle and parking, and always service with a smile. Kia Vancouver, the power to surprise at KiaVancouver.com and on Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon.
Whether playing soccer on this continent or football on every other, Umbro is the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available for your team or club at Umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, is celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at Umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football.
BC-born superstar Rory McDonald looks to earn a coveted UFC title shot when he meets Tyron Woodley in a welterweight showdown. Live Saturday, June 14th from Rogers Arena. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.ca.
If your patio had an imagination, right now it would be imagining you walking through the doors of Pier 1 Imports. Because now through Victoria Day at Pier 1's 9-day dealio, you're going to save up to 25% off all outdoor items. From breathtaking furniture sets to dazzling pillows to festive plates and dishes. Which means if you want your patio to have imagination, now's the perfect time to make it happen. So hurry in now through May 19th and find what speaks to you at Pier 1 Imports.
I just can't believe how much there is to win in Hometown Heroes Lottery. More prizes than any other BC home lottery. Over 7,000. And tickets are 2 for only $50 with 5 grand prize choices, including $1.6 million cash. Win a fortune and support VGH and the Firefighters Burn Fund. Order your tickets at heroeslottery.com or London Drugs.
Ticket buyers must be 19 or older. Know your limit. Play within.
Hometown Heroes. We're back. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on AM 650. Now here's your host, Tyler Green.
Premier League now officially over, but next week is the big promotion playoff game for entry into the Premier League, but there was some silverware handed out today, and Simon's got that with the latest from England, brought to you by Umbro.
The English FA Cup final at Wembley Stadium went today, and it was quite a thriller. It took extra time for Arsenal to win by 3-2 over Hull City. The Tigers took the lead through James Chester and Curtis Davis very early on in the first 8 minutes, but goals by Santi Cazorla and Lauren Koscielny in the second half gave it a 2-2 draw after 90 minutes. It went to extra time, and there was only going to be one winner in it, and a fine goal by Aaron Ramsey in extra time gave the Gunners the silverware. They win the FA Cup.
Thanks, Simon. That was a look at England, brought to you by Umbro, online at umbro.com. See the latest Umbro footwear, uniforms, and equipment at umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football. Let's check the latest headlines from around the globe. Taking a look at the news, notes, and rumors from around the globe. Neil and the team at Uniglobe One Travel have you covered. Call 604-677-1495. Whether it's a trip down the I-5 to Portland in the coming weeks to see the Caps play in the Rose City, a family vacation to Disney perhaps, or a cruise ship up the coast, Neil and the crew at Uniglobe One Travel have you covered. Call them today, 604-677-1495. That's 677-1495. Well, Whitecaps' Caleb Clark's loan deal in Germany with Augsburg 2 is up, and spoke with Whitecaps president Bob Lenarduzzi. Here's the latest situation. Nothing officially confirmed, as they have yet to strike a deal, but the club will be speaking with Caleb Clark, the club in Germany, and the Caps staff, and they're going to collectively determine the best course of action. Quote, "We will determine the best course of action for Caleb." It's not a cut and dry issue, but definitely a work in progress, and will be an interesting few weeks to see where Caleb Clark ends up, whether back here in Vancouver, whether he's sold to Augsburg if they're interested, or somewhere completely different. News from Camilo's agent today saying that no, he is not coming back to the Vancouver Whitecaps. He is staying with Querétaro. You can weigh in on our poll question. Under which circumstances would you welcome Camilo back? JCF Lamb writing in, Whitecaps should move on from Camilo. Robbo is doing a great job acquisition player-wise. No man is bigger than the club. You can read about Camilo and what his agent had to say at facebook.com/soccertalkvan or at tylergreen.org. Simon has some of the scores from the NASL and USL Pro that Whitecaps fans could be interested in.
2 Canadian teams in the NSL played today, and it was a very good win and a historic win for the Ottawa Fury. Their first away win in franchise history, a 4-2 victory at struggling Indy 11. Ex-Whitecap Tony Donatelli with 2 goals, and ex-Whitecap Wilmar Jeroen with a goal in that game as well. It was San Antonio Scorpions 0, FC Edmonton 0, 10-men FC Edmonton. Malin Roberts' week was awful. In the end, he got a red card on 27 minutes in the game, but the Eddies held on. San Antonio played Adrian Can, Greg Janicki, and Eric Hasley in that match, all former Whitecaps players. And in USL Pro, it was a rematch of Toronto FC's USL Pro affiliate versus the Caps Pro affiliate. Wellington Hammerheads 1, Charleston Battery 0. The TFC Loney Jordan Hamilton with a winning goal. Both teams finished with 10 men each. The Battery played Caps Loney's Aminu Abdallah, Diamadou Diouf, and Andre Lewis. They all got 90 minutes in the game today.
That was a look at Around the Globe with Uniglobe One Travel. Hey, if you're heading down to Portland for the Whitecaps match in a couple weeks, need some help booking travel, maybe a hotel, accommodation, Neil's got you covered with whatever you need. 604-677-1495. That's 604-677-1495. Only at Kia Vancouver, get an extra $500 discount if you tell them Tyler from Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk sent you. Just mention my name, save 500 big ones. KiaVancouver.com or at 396 Southwest Marine Drive. It's halftime here on the show, but a busy second half featuring former Whitecaps head coach Martin Rennie, who will answer your questions if you tweet us at SoccerTalk650 with the hashtag AskMartin. And regular contributor David Sandals of Expert Physio, expertphysio.ca, joins us in just a matter of minutes. But first, let's take a look at the BC Soccer Profile, brought to you by bcsoccer.net.
Time now for the BC Soccer Profile, showcasing special achievements and success stories from throughout the province. British Columbia's Michelle Pye was named a FIFA referee again in 2014 and will be an official at the upcoming FIFA U20 Women's World Cup Canada 2014. This tournament is a chance for her to gain valuable experience and potentially claim a place at next year's FIFA Women's World Cup Canada 2015. Pye began refereeing at age 19 and is currently the only BC-born referee on the list for the tournament this summer. A former BC Soccer Association Official of the Year, Pye has represented Canadian officials and British Columbians across the globe in many major international soccer competitions, including the 2012 Olympics and various World Cups and U20 World Cups. To follow in Michelle's footsteps and become the next world-class referee, visit bcsoccer.net. To learn about referee requirements and courses, that's bcsoccer.net.
This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650. Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler